While most people are out here buying seeds every spring, like they're paying a yearly subscription to nature, there are crops that literally do all the work for you, coming back year after year or dropping seeds that sprout into next season's harvest without you lifting a finger. You've been working way too hard in your garden, and Mother Nature has been laughing at you the whole time. Today we're diving into the 15 crops that practically replant themselves. Number 15. Tomatoes. Let's start with everyone's favorite garden crop, tomatoes. These juicy red beauties are champion self-seeders that will drop fruit, sprout volunteers, and keep your garden producing tomatoes for years without you planting a single seed. If you've ever found mystery tomato plants growing in random spots around your garden, you've experienced their self-replicating superpowers firsthand. Here's how tomatoes pull off this botanical magic trick. Every tomato contains dozens or hundreds of seeds that are perfectly viable the moment the fruit ripens. When overripe tomatoes drop and decompose, those seeds sprout wherever they land, creating the next generation of tomato plants completely automatically. It's like having a built-in gardening assistant who works while you sleep. The volunteer tomatoes that sprout from dropped fruit are often more vigorous and disease-resistant than deliberately planted varieties, because natural selection is doing the work for you. The seeds that survive and thrive in your specific conditions create plants perfectly adapted to your garden's microclimate. You're basically running an automatic plant breeding program without even trying. Traditional gardeners in warm climates have been using this self-seeding property for generations, letting tomatoes reseed naturally and only thinning out the volunteers or transplanting them where they're wanted. It's lazy gardening at its finest. Let nature do the planting while you focus on harvesting. Number 14. Lettuce. Lettuce is the self-perpetuating salad machine that most people never let fulfill its destiny because they harvest it too early. If you let just a few lettuce plants bolt and go to seed, they'll drop enough seeds to keep your garden in fresh salad greens for years without ever buying another seed packet. It's like having a renewable salad subscription that costs nothing. What makes lettuce absolutely perfect for self-seeding is how prolifically it produces seeds. A single lettuce plant that bolts can produce thousands of tiny seeds that scatter everywhere, germinating in waves as conditions become favorable. You'll have lettuce seedlings popping up continuously from spring through fall, creating a never-ending harvest. The self-seeded lettuce often comes up at exactly the right time for your climate, because the seeds germinate when conditions are optimal. You're basically letting evolution and local adaptation do your garden planning, which is way smarter than following generic planting calendars from seed companies. Traditional cottage gardens always included self-seeding lettuce that returned year after year, creating perpetual salad production with zero replanting effort. Modern gardeners have forgotten this wisdom, but it's still working perfectly for anyone smart enough to let a few plants go to seed. Number 13. Arugula. Arugula is the peppery powerhouse that self-seeds so aggressively it borders on becoming a weed. Except you actually want this weed because it's delicious. Let one arugula plant flower and set seed, and you'll have arugula volunteers coming up for years in the most random spots, creating surprise salad patches wherever the seeds land. The self-seeding habit of arugula is so reliable that many gardeners plant it once and never replant again. The seeds scatter, germinate in waves, and create continuous harvests from early spring through late fall. It's like having a salad garden that runs on autopilot, while you focus on crops that actually need attention. Arugula volunteers often pop up in the perfect spots, between other plants, along pathways, or in areas where you weren't planning to plant anything. Instead of fighting this natural behavior, smart gardeners just harvest wherever arugula appears and thin out any plants growing in truly inconvenient locations. The flowers are also edible and beautiful, so letting arugula go to seed doesn't just create next year's crop. It adds ornamental value while simultaneously ensuring future harvests. You're getting multiple benefits from a single low-maintenance plant that essentially manages itself. Number 12. Cilantro. Cilantro is the herb that everyone complains about bolting too quickly, but that bolting is actually its self-replicating superpower. Let cilantro do what it naturally wants to do: flower and set seed, which becomes coriander spice. And it'll reseed itself indefinitely, providing both fresh herb and spice without any replanting effort. The self-seeding cycle of cilantro is perfectly timed for continuous production. Seeds that drop in late spring germinate when fall weather cools, providing fresh cilantro through winter in mild climates. Seeds that drop in fall germinate in spring, creating the next generation exactly when you want fresh herbs. Nature's timing is better than any planting calendar. Smart gardeners have figured out that instead of fighting cilantro's natural tendency to bolt, you should embrace it and let the plants complete their life cycle. You get fresh cilantro leaves early in the season, coriander seeds for cooking, and automatic replanting for next season's crop. It's 3 benefits from 0 additional work. Traditional herb gardens always included self-seeding cilantro that returned year after year in the same spots, creating reliable herb production without annual replanting. This ancient wisdom is still perfectly applicable today for anyone tired of constantly buying cilantro at the grocery store. Number 11. Dill. Dill is the feathery herb that self-seeds so enthusiastically you'll be giving away seedlings to neighbors for years. One dill plant produces thousands of seeds that scatter everywhere, creating dill forests in your garden that provide continuous harvests of both fresh herb and pickle-making seeds without any human intervention. The self-perpetuating nature of dill makes it perfect for lazy herb gardening. Plant it once in a spot where you won't mind it returning indefinitely, and you'll have dill available whenever you need it without ever thinking about replanting. The volunteers often come up healthier and more vigorous than deliberately planted dill. Dill volunteers appear at staggered times throughout the growing season, creating a succession planting that happens automatically. You'll have young dill for fresh use, flowering dill for pollinators, and seed-producing dill for pickling, all from the original planting that happened years ago. Traditional pickle makers always maintained patches of self-seeding dill that returned every year, ensuring they'd always have fresh dill heads for pickle making without worrying about timing plantings. This old-school approach is still the smartest way to grow dill today. Number 10. Chard. Chard is the biennial powerhouse that most people treat as an annual, missing its incredible self-seeding potential. Let chard overwinter and flower in its second year, and it'll produce seeds that create the next generation automatically. You're basically getting infinite chard from one planting, if you're patient enough to let it complete its life cycle. What makes chard particularly valuable for self-seeding gardens is its cold hardiness and long productive life. Plants can produce edible leaves for 18+ months before flowering, then drop seeds that germinate and start the cycle again. You're getting nearly 2 years of continuous harvest, plus automatic replanting from a single plant. The seeds that drop naturally often germinate better than stored seeds because they're stratified naturally over winter, breaking dormancy exactly when conditions are right for growth. Nature's seed starting is more reliable than anything you could do manually with seed trays and grow lights. Swiss chard in particular has been maintained through self-seeding for generations in traditional gardens, with specific regional varieties persisting through natural reseeding year after year. These self-perpetuating chard varieties are perfectly adapted to local conditions because they've been naturally selected for generations. Number 9. Kale. Kale is the indestructible brassica that not only survives winter in most climates, but flowers and reseeds in its second year, creating perpetual kale patches that last for decades. Let kale complete its life cycle, and you'll have volunteers appearing exactly when you need them, providing fresh greens through seasons when nothing else is growing. The self-seeding behavior of kale creates staggered plantings that ensure year-round harvests in many climates. Seeds that drop in summer germinate in fall, creating winter and spring harvests. Seeds that drop in spring germinate when conditions cool, creating next winter's crop. It's automatic succession planting that requires 0 planning. Kale volunteers that grow from self-seeded plants are often more cold-hardy and vigorous than purchased transplants because they're naturally selected for survival in your specific conditions. You're essentially developing your own locally adapted kale variety through natural selection over multiple generations. Traditional Scottish and European gardens maintained kale patches that self-perpetuated for generations, with the same kale genetics persisting through natural reseeding in family gardens for over 100 years. This approach created perfectly adapted varieties that modern gardeners are now trying to recreate. Number 8. Radishes. Radishes are the speed demons of self-seeding crops, going from seed to flowering in just 4 to 6 weeks and producing seed pods that scatter everywhere, creating the next generation before you've finished harvesting the first. Let a few radishes bolt instead of pulling them all, and you'll have radishes appearing continuously without ever planting again. The seed pods themselves are edible and delicious, so letting radishes flower isn't just about reseeding. You're getting a bonus crop of crunchy, peppery pods while simultaneously ensuring future radish harvests. It's multiple benefits from what most people consider a gardening failure. Self-seeded radishes often come up at the perfect time for your climate, germinating when soil temperatures are ideal, and growing when conditions favor rapid root development. You're letting natural timing replace garden planning, which is way less work and often more successful. Traditional gardeners always let some radishes go to seed, ensuring continuous production throughout the growing season. This old approach of deliberately allowing some plants to complete their life cycle creates self-sustaining vegetable gardens that require minimal intervention. Number 7. Mustard greens. Mustard greens are aggressive self-seeders that will take over any spot where you let them flower, creating perpetual patches of peppery greens that return year after year. These fast-growing brassicas produce thousands of seeds per plant, ensuring that once you establish mustard greens, you'll never be without them again. The self-perpetuating nature of mustard greens creates year-round harvests in mild climates, with successive waves of volunteers appearing whenever conditions are favorable. You can harvest leaves continuously, while letting some plants flower and reseed, maintaining perpetual production with zero replanting effort. Mustard volunteers often appear in unexpected spots where their seeds have scattered, creating surprise greens in areas you weren't planning to plant. Smart gardeners just harvest wherever mustard appears and thin out plants in truly inconvenient locations, letting nature do the garden planning. Traditional southern gardens always included self-seeding mustard patches that returned every year, providing reliable greens through fall and winter when other vegetables weren't available. This approach created food security through plants that essentially managed themselves. Number 6. Calendula. Calendula is the medicinal flower that self-seeds so reliably it's practically indestructible, returning year after year in the same spots while providing edible flowers, medicinal petals, and non-stop color. These cheerful orange blooms produce curved seeds that drop and germinate readily, creating self-perpetuating flower patches that last for decades. What makes calendula particularly valuable is its multiple uses. The flowers are edible, medicinally valuable for skin healing, and beautiful for ornamental purposes. You're getting food, medicine, and beauty from a single plant that requires zero replanting effort after the initial establishment. Calendula volunteers often appear in better locations than where you originally planted them, as the seeds scatter and find spots with ideal conditions. Instead of fighting this natural behavior, experienced gardeners just enjoy calendula wherever it appears and transplant seedlings if they're truly in the wrong spot. Traditional cottage gardens always included self-perpetuating calendula patches that returned faithfully every year, providing medicinal flowers for skin salves and herbal remedies. This ancient practice is still perfectly relevant for modern gardeners interested in medicinal herbs. Number 5. Borage. Borage is the cucumber-flavored flower that self-seeds with such enthusiasm it borders on invasive. Except you actually want this plant because it attracts beneficial insects, provides edible flowers, and improves soil. Let one borage plant go to seed, and you'll have borage volunteers for life, whether you want them or not. The self-perpetuating nature of borage makes it perfect for permaculture and low-maintenance gardens. The plants pop up wherever they're needed, attract pollinators and beneficial predatory insects, and improve soil with their deep taproots. It's like having a garden helper that works for free and multiplies automatically. Borage flowers continuously from spring through frost, and the plants reseed while still blooming, creating overlapping generations that ensure you always have flowers available. The edible flowers taste like cucumber and are beautiful in salads, giving you both ornamental and culinary value from zero effort. Traditional herb gardens always included self-seeding borage that returned year after year, supporting beneficial insects and providing edible flowers. Modern permaculture has rediscovered this wisdom, recognizing borage as a self-perpetuating support plant for ecosystem gardening. Number 4. Purslane. Purslane is the succulent superfood that most people treat as a weed, while it's actually one of the most nutritious self-seeding vegetables available. This omega-3 packed green self-seeds aggressively, creating continuous harvests of tender, lemony leaves from early summer through frost, without any human intervention whatsoever. What makes purslane absolutely perfect for self-seeding gardens is its indestructibility. It tolerates drought, poor soil, neglect, and foot traffic while producing edible leaves continuously. The plants drop thousands of tiny seeds that germinate in waves, creating perpetual harvests that appear exactly when hot weather makes other greens impossible to grow. The nutritional profile of purslane is genuinely impressive. It contains more omega-3 fatty acids than most fish, plus vitamins A and C, calcium, iron, and antioxidants. Ancient peoples recognized purslane as valuable food, and modern science has validated that this self-seeding weed is actually a superfood. Traditional Mediterranean and Middle Eastern gardens always included self-perpetuating purslane patches that returned every summer, providing nutritious greens during the hottest months when other vegetables struggled. This ancient practice is perfectly applicable for modern gardeners seeking low-maintenance nutrition. Number 3. Chamomile. Chamomile is the medicinal flower that self-seeds reliably, creating perpetual patches of calming, apple-scented blooms that return year after year. These delicate-looking plants are actually tough self-seeders that drop seeds continuously while flowering, ensuring future generations appear exactly where you want soothing tea herbs growing. The self-perpetuating nature of chamomile makes it perfect for herb gardens and medicinal plantings. Establish it once, and you'll have chamomile returning indefinitely, providing flowers for tea, medicine, and insect attraction. It's like having a renewable pharmacy growing in your garden automatically. German chamomile in particular is an aggressive self-seeder that creates dense patches of flowering plants that appear year after year. The flowers can be harvested continuously, while the plants keep reseeding, creating perpetual production from the original planting. Traditional cottage gardens and monastery herb gardens always maintained self-seeding chamomile patches that returned faithfully every year, providing medicinal flowers for teas and remedies. This centuries-old approach is still the smartest way to grow chamomile for anyone serious about herbal medicine. Number 2. Jerusalem artichokes. Jerusalem artichokes are the ultimate self-perpetuating crop because they're perennial tubers that spread aggressively underground while also producing edible tubers every single year. Plant them once, and you'll have Jerusalem artichokes forever, whether you want them or not. They're basically the garden equivalent of that friend who never leaves but always brings food. What makes Jerusalem artichokes absolutely incredible for self-perpetuating gardens is their indestructibility. Every tiny piece of tuber left in the ground becomes a new plant next year. Even if you try to remove them completely, they'll come back from the tiniest fragments. It's like having a food crop that's biologically programmed to survive apocalypse. The tubers can be harvested as needed throughout winter, essentially using the ground as natural refrigeration while the plants automatically replant themselves. You can harvest 80% of the crop, and the remaining 20% will regenerate the patch the following year. It's perpetual food production that requires zero replanting effort. Traditional Native American agriculture included Jerusalem artichokes as perennial food crops that returned year after year without replanting. European colonists adopted this approach, creating permanent Jerusalem artichoke patches that fed families for generations from a single original planting. Number 1. Potatoes. And for our number 1 crop that practically replants itself, we have potatoes. The underground miracle that will volunteer from any tiny tuber piece left in the ground, creating surprise potato patches wherever you've grown them before. These starchy survival foods have an almost magical ability to propagate themselves, turning every missed harvest into next year's crop automatically. What makes potatoes absolutely incredible for self-perpetuation is how reliably they volunteer from even the smallest tuber fragments. Miss a few potatoes during harvest, and those tubers will sprout next spring exactly when conditions are right for potato growing. It's like having a crop that plants itself on the perfect schedule while you do nothing. The volunteer potatoes that grow from missed tubers are often more vigorous than deliberately planted potatoes because they're perfectly adapted to your soil and climate. Natural selection is doing plant breeding for you, creating potatoes optimized for your specific growing conditions over multiple generations. Traditional subsistence farmers have relied on volunteer potatoes for generations, deliberately leaving some tubers in the ground to ensure next year's crop without needing to save and store seed potatoes. This ancient technique is still perfectly viable today for anyone wanting truly low-maintenance potato production. Which self-seeding crop surprised you the most? Are you already growing any of these perpetual producers? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, the best gardens aren't the ones requiring the most work. They're the ones that practically run themselves. Until next time, work smarter, not harder, and let your crops plant themselves.